City Manager, you've got something you'd like to discuss.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council, for allowing me a few minutes to talk about the Oshkosh media and some of the information or misinformation that has been going around. First of all, I want to acknowledge the residents, volunteers, and members of the Friends of Oshkosh Community Media who might be here tonight who have reached out over the past few days to share their feedback and concerns about the future of Oshkosh media. Oshkosh Media has been an award-winning institution serving this community for more than 40 years. And many people have invested significant time, talent, and energy into making it what it is today. Those contributions to our community are important and deserve to be recognized. Thank you. First and foremost, I want to iterate that GovTV will continue as it has. No changes are contemplated for this important access to government meetings. Over the past year, we have been taking a comprehensive look at how our services, staffing, and resources are aligned so that we can continue providing strong services to the residents while also being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. Those conversations have included some difficult decisions, from things like EMS service, to reduction of staff, to resizing some of our contracts with our providers. But we're making sure that we're using our current staff as effectively as possible. And we are continuing to align our organization with the financial realities that we do have. The creation of the Communications and Engagement Division is part of that effort. Communications work has historically been spread across several departments, and in some cases, we were paying outside sources significant amounts of money to manage communication functions. Bringing all that work together allows us to improve coordination, reduce duplication, and provide residents with timely information. As part of that realignment, we have also been reviewing our communications platforms, including social media, presence, and the role of Oshkosh Media, to better understand what services the city should provide directly and where other arrangements should be made moving forward. I also want to acknowledge something that's come up in many of the recent conversations. Under our form of government, the council establishes policy direction and priorities, and the city manager is responsible for implementing these priorities and overseeing the day-to-day operations of the organization. That includes evaluating how departments are structured and how resources are aligned. At the same time, just because something may fall within that authority does not mean it should happen without the appropriate communication and insight from the community and the council. That balance is important. Within that context, I want to briefly address the meeting that occurred last week with the Friends of Oshkosh Community Media. My expectations of that meeting were that staff would share some things that we are looking into for the future and potential timeline as part of that review, not a definite transition plan. However, discussion at the meeting was not necessarily consistent with my expectations. Further discussions were and are needed. Change is never easy, and we certainly don't want to make it harder by falling short in communication, collaboration, or clarity. Those are must for us as an organization. Are we always going to get it right? No. Will we have disagreements and hard discussions? Yes. But we need to continue working towards that standard. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Drew to provide a little more information. Drew, I don't know if you want to sit here or stand up there.
Can I stand here? Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you, City Manager Gurrell. Those who don't know me, I'm sure everyone in here knows me a little bit by now, but I'm Drew Bailey, the Communications and Engagement Manager. I just want to start off by addressing the communication that's already been clearly outlined and the reason a lot of us are here. I just want to start off by saying, first and most importantly, I want to sincerely apologize I could have done this a lot better. As far as this initial communication, how it went out, I could have done a lot better. Just overall with making sure the direction and expectations of the city manager were clearly outlined, and I didn't do that. That responsibility ultimately falls on me, and I recognize I could have done a lot better job with that. So that's something I'll learn from, and then the main thing is I want to provide solutions. I'm going to talk through a couple of those things, but just again, I know this caused a lot of frustration with some really important people in the programs and things you offer to such a great community. So I apologize for that. I'm excited to talk and work with you and collaborate with you as we kind of look for the best possible solutions. All those who know me, who have gotten to know me, know I'm a bit of a go-getter. I push. I think that's a big reason I was put in this role, to initiate some of these key tasks or big goals that we have. And the downside with that is sometimes I go a little too quick. It may come across as what I see as being proactive or transparent, but can come across as brash and inconsiderate. And I don't want that to be my legacy or what I'm trying to accomplish here. So I take responsibility for that. And moving forward, my commitment is to slow down and communicate earlier and make sure the people most impacted are part of these conversations from the beginning. And when I just provide a brief overview, I know people don't want to listen to me talk. We have much more important voices to hear tonight, but just an overview of the situation as far as what's going forward. City Manager Grill already did a great job as far as clearly saying, again, Channel 10 or government GovTV will be staying. Nothing is changing with that. As previously shared, we're reviewing the future of live TV and the programming currently aired there, and also the community radio program 101.9. Supported by these wonderful people, with the potential timeline of May 15th for concluding our support. But I want to be clear that while that timeline remains a goal, according to the goals that we have within division to accomplish these other things, that's completely flexible. And I know every single individual program has specific needs, has specific things they'll need help carrying out with, and what our goal is to provide the best solutions possible and help support you in every way we can in order to get you to just find the best support for your specific programs. We have had really great and are having great positive and constructive, very serious conversations with a couple of potential sponsors or hosts, programs that can support both the radio station and the programs or these things that are being made for live TV. So I'm excited about those. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks I can give more detail. I've reached out to the majority of people in this room, and we'll continue as far as letting you know within the next 2 weeks we'll hopefully have clear updates with that and what that looks like, but also having those conversations individually to seeing how we can support and what we can do. Just an overview of what our communication and engagement division does and what we will be doing and what we're taking on. More than ever, we're taking on the responsibilities. City Manager Grill already kind of addressed those as far as when it comes to our social media plan, new city website that's coming out, and also the high goal to cover all departments and organizations within the city by providing high quality, top tier content. These are things that we are working on and things that we will need to continue to do with the team that has now been assigned with us. So it's something we're very excited about, but also means we have to be extremely thoughtful of how we use the time, space, and resources we have in order to meet those expectations of this division and serve the entire organization well. So we'll just need to, again, this is a process, it's something we're working through, but we want to make sure that our team members and everything as far as the responsibilities are being used to their full capacity to meet these goals. I, again, don't want to take too much time. Just want to say thank you. I know there's a lot of voices I'm excited to hear from, and I'm grateful for everyone that showed up today. Excited to collaborate and find solutions, and I continue making Oshkosh great. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. Russ Potratz, followed by Tony Palmeri. Good evening.
Good evening. Okay. Thank you, Mayor Mugarauer, council members. Thank you for the time and the opportunity to speak. My name is Russ Potratz, and I serve as the president of Friends of Oshkosh Community Media. It's a nonprofit that has supported Oshkosh Media for decades. Through fundraising, volunteer labor, equipment ownership and stewardship of nearly 30 years, and archive local programming. I'm here today because of the city's decision and I'll just let you know, this is as of about noon today, so some of this may have already been taken care of. I'm here today because of the city's decision to eliminate community access television and radio, with broadcasting ending May 15th, which represents a profound loss for government transparency, civic engagement, and a historical record of the community. Oshkosh Media has been broadcasting since 1987. For almost 40 years, these channels have ensured that every resident, regardless of income, age, or digital access, can see their government at work. No social media feed, no websites, and no private platform replicates that level of accessibility or public accountability. The Friends Board was given minimal notice of this shutdown last Thursday, and the public was given none. This abrupt timeline leaves no room for responsible planning, community input, or preservation of services residents rely on. It also jeopardizes the long-term future assets that we own, including WOCT 101 low power FM license, the radio tower attached to the City Hall, and decades of irreplaceable broadcast archives. We are asking the council to do three things: delay the May 15 shutdown, allow for proper engagement and transition planning, provide clear explanation of the data and the process used to justify eliminating the channels, work collaboratively with the Friends of Oshkosh Media to ensure that public access to government meetings and community programming is not lost and offered in the broadest sense. Oshkosh deserves transparency, Oshkosh deserves access, and Oshkosh deserves a thoughtful, community-centered process, not rushed dismantling of nearly 40 years of public service. So thank you for your time, and you have my letter and this abbreviated overview, and I hope our process works over the next coming weeks, months, and maybe throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Palmeri, followed by Kobe Schellinger. Good evening.
Thank you. Tony Palmeri, 212 West Parkway Avenue. I've not been very active with Oshkosh Media the last few years, but as many of you know, I was very, very active for a while there. Want to thank the city manager for her statement this evening, offering appreciation for the programming. That's the first time we've heard that publicly, so it's much appreciated. Also want to thank Mr. Bailey for the apology for how it's been handled so far. So my point, I guess, would be that now that we have the thanks and the appreciation and the apology, now we have to get the policy right. And I think what Mr. Potratz just advocated is a direction that I would like to see the council go in. I want to remind the council of what the stated mission is of Life TV: to provide an electronic free speech forum that promotes, encourages, and reflects the cultural diversity of the Oshkosh community. So far, in all the discussion I've heard about the communication and engagement division, I'm not hearing that. And promoting the cultural diversity does not mean sending staff out to film a meeting. It means giving people an actual opportunity to produce their own messages. And that's what the studios of Oshkosh Community Media have done. So I really hope we can find a way to keep the studio, and if anything, encourage more people to use those facilities so that we can have the most rich representation of the diversity that we all know exists in the city, but is too often marginalized and not heard. And that's why I think it would be a really bad mistake at this point to let that go. I just want to spend the rest of my time just offering some celebration to people who've been involved in Oshkosh Community Media. We really don't do enough celebration. In addition to Mr. Potratz, who's been wonderful, John Nieman, if you've never seen his show, The Place to Be, John has done more for volunteer recruitment in this city over years than anyone I've ever known. No one has done as much as he has. Mike Hert, a great patriot, a man of great courage and integrity. His show, The Outpost, gives such a powerful voice to veterans, and we need to find a way to keep that going. because what Mike is doing, along with John, is a treasure for this city that we have to find a way to keep going. My good friend Cheryl Hentz, who's been hosting and producing Eye on Oshkosh for so long, Cheryl is an authentic voice of working class Oshkosh. And she deserves more than to be told, as do John and Mike. They deserve to be more than to be told, well, just go find a way to get your program on YouTube. The city helping these people produce their outstanding messages is very important, because one thing all these people have in common, and I've noticed this when I've worked in Oshkosh media, we're trained in this country to always think left versus right, but these folks think of right versus wrong. And that's what we want to see the city do here. Let's do the right thing for the citizens. And let me close by just trying to debunk one narrative I'm hearing out there, that somehow citizens who use Oshkosh Community Media Services are involved in vanity projects that no one watches. The people that I've just mentioned and many others, this has nothing to do with vanity projects. Anyone who's worked in producing local media knows the sheer amount of work and effort it takes to do it. And once again, I want to thank the city manager for publicly appreciating that. And now let's try and get the policy right, and I hope that at a minimum it goes on the agenda for the next meeting and the council can have a really good discussion about how we move forward in a way that I hope will preserve the studios for the citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cari Tetzlaff, followed by John Nieman. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for everything you do for Oshkosh. I'm here to talk about the Oshkosh media communication rollout, some of the decision-making that's in process, and just concerns I have about transparency and the need to really get citizen input before making major decisions about city programming. Just to share some personal relationships with Oshkosh media, I enjoy Oshkosh media content like TV. I watch it. As a nonprofit employee in the past, I was interviewed several times on Happy Tales and did educational programming to help share good information with the community about animals. I've been interviewed on Oshkosh as a business owner. For me, it's a source of civic pride. I was watching the Oshkosh Outlook 2026 recording, also aired on Oshkosh Media because I couldn't attend, and so a topic that came up was that sometimes in Oshkosh we feel like we might have a self-esteem problem. I have a lot of pride of programs like Oshkosh Media, Life TV, certainly Gov TV is important. These are things that matter to me as a citizen. Just on a personal note too, I don't want to embarrass him, but I have a wonderful brother-in-law that's been a longtime volunteer of Oshkosh Media. If you've ever been to a parade, if you look up high on the scaffolding, he's operating a camera, recording the parade. Just all these wonderful people come together to produce shows, to run the equipment, to edit, to make sure all this great information gets out to residents here. I have concerns about the transparency involved with the decision-making process, and as a citizen, I would love to hear council speak more to how different departments within the city can work together to make decisions, such as the future of Life TV. I reached out to council when I heard about this last week. A couple of you got back to me. Thank you so much for your comments. Something I heard over and over from council members is we didn't know what was happening with this decision, and we're still researching it ourselves. And that feels backwards to me. It feels like making a decision about Oshkosh Media should start with measuring the impact that the decision would have on taxpayers and citizens and getting input, and there should be a data-driven component to decision-making that really captures data about the impact of the choice. It should come before you all. We should have a chance as a community to weigh in proactively rather than reactively. Before even emailing you all, the first thing I thought of after I heard from other people in the community who are involved and heard the message either from the board meeting or from an email, I thought, well, I'm going to go look for a press release because there's got to be a press release on this, right? And there was none to be found. So again, just it feels like the communication rollout was really backwards here. Like Tony Palmeri, I want to thank our city manager and Drew Bailey for the acknowledgement of the gifts that Oshkosh Media has given the community, and also the apology for how this information was shared. And want to thank Drew for being willing to very quickly set up a telephone call to discuss it. Some information that was shared with me that concerns me is that I asked kind of a few times how this decision-making process happened, what was the timeline, and how far back was this decision made. I remembered attending budget meetings here and seeing the listed goals for Oshkosh Media, and I didn't see any goals listed for these types of outcomes for the program, nor did I see goals that suggested this was a possibility in the communication and engagement department listed goals. So to me, this felt like just a left field change. The information I was given is that this decision was made by one person within the last 6 weeks. That feels very rushed. That feels incredibly rushed. And for a new department with new staff, it feels like an awful lot of responsibility for a single person to have. So I just wanted to share that, how that felt to hear that as a citizen. And I look forward to hearing more from you all about maybe how this should work in a best practice way as we continue to advocate for changes. I want to also just mention, I heard that one of the longtime producers at Oshkosh Media didn't even receive an email and found out about this decision after she showed up to air a program. And I just think about the hurt you would feel after giving that many years of service to your community, and then to find out that your platform has been removed when you show up and have to go on camera. Just feels unfair. So, in closing, what I would advocate for would be pushing this timeline back. I think May 15th is extremely rushed. I think we should go back and try to engage with our community and have more of a citizen and community member oriented decision-making process where we can get this input and do this the right way. I really strongly advocate for keeping all of the programs, not just GovTV. I'm relieved to hear there's been an amended change that will still have those televised meetings. That's important for folks that maybe aren't as internet savvy to jump on YouTube and watch a meeting. But I would advocate for maintaining live TV too. I think it's an important way for citizens to share their personal beliefs and to express the culture here in Oshkosh and the diversity of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. John Nieman, followed by Mike Hert. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. John Nieman, 1078 West 4th Ave. I'm wondering if somebody can buzz me when my 5 minutes is done, because I'm a pastor.
Happy to.
I'm a pastor, and you know how long sermons can go.
I appreciate you
So-
giving me the blessing to do so.
Yeah, thank you. So I am a lifelong resident of Oshkosh. I only left my wonderful community to go out in the ministry, and then I came back. I got involved with Oshkosh Media because two people, Connie Carmichael and John Urban, asked me to. So I've been involved 24 years with Oshkosh Media as a board member, as a committee member. I've hosted 2 shows. So my shows have been on for 20 years. My first show that I started was called Helping Hands, and I did that show because I knew how important PR is to not-for-profits. Not-for-profits don't have it in their budget to go out there and do big ads and all that, so my guests on my show were not-for-profits and volunteers. The show that I do now, which is an award-winning show, for the last 3 years in a row, my show has won an award of excellence. Just to put that out there, and I don't brag. I can't brag because my wife always tells me it's the Holy Spirit, it's not you. Don't brag. But I'm proud of the work that I do and that Oshkosh Community Access does. What I'm a little disappointed in, and I'm hoping it will change by the email that we got today, is the experience that I had with the communication and engagement team. It was not good. I was the first one to call after I got the email last Thursday. I was the first one to call the office and express my opinions. And I said, what am I supposed to do about my show now? And he said, put it on YouTube. I call my children, I'm 65, just retired, I call my children how to reset the remote control and the microwave. I'm supposed to suddenly know how to go on YouTube and do all this when the wonderful team at Oshkosh Media has been doing this for us. I also worry about the volunteers at Oshkosh Media. I also worry about the sponsors. I don't know if everybody knows, but we get sponsors to pay for our shows. They pay good money for that. And when I didn't get sponsors in the beginning, I paid for my show myself out of my own pocket because I thought it was that important to have a show on celebrating our community. Dealing with the office, and I said, I hope it does change, but to me, communication is supposed to be open. And engagement, doesn't engagement mean talking to people? We called, and through connections, we called Fox 11 and WBAY, I'm not sure if you saw them, the stories that they did. And we were on there, we took the time to be on there, but the office did a phone interview. A phone interview about what was going on. While the office was there when we were taping, they were physically there while we were taping, and they do a phone interview? Is that good communication? Is that engagement? I don't think so. I'm hoping that stuff will change. We also, through the TV station, wanted to go into Oshkosh Media and get a picture, a video of all the awards that have been won over the years. Not just my shows, all of them. We were denied that. We were told that we could not videotape or tape, just for the TV, the awards that were sitting there in the lobby of Oshkosh Media. Is that community engagement? And I am passionate about this because I love Oshkosh Media. I wouldn't have done it for 24 years if I didn't. And I just think there's got to be a change. Live TV is everything to me. I have counted, and I'm a nobody in Oshkosh. I'm nobody. I work for not-for-profits. I'm a nobody, really. I've had 55 phone calls just from people who watch my show wondering what's going on. So I really think something needs to be done before decisions like these are made, and through an email. Through an email. That's communication? I don't think so. Why couldn't we have gotten together as producers and presented this information to us? So yes, I'm passionate, and I have to watch what I say because my daughter-in-law, who is in the communication field, told me, watch what you say. But I am passionate about this. I'm passionate about the wonderful crew, Jake, Ian, Scott, Andy. I've worked with them for 24 years. And again, the only reason I did it was because somebody asked me, and that's the heart of a true volunteer in our community. You ask somebody, and they will do it. Just like my sponsors. If you go on, I asked my sponsors to sponsor my show. I have great sponsors. They pay for it so I don't have to, so I want to thank them too. But I'm asking you as the council, what's going to happen to all those people who sponsor all those shows, who give the money to put it on? I really appreciate the time that you give to listen to this. And I know you didn't give me the signal, so I haven't used 5 minutes, but I'm going to end it early anyway. I appreciate this, and I really do think a station that's been around for 40 years and its community, all you have to do is look up community in your dictionary and you will see Oshkosh Media. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Hert, and then followed by Carmen Scott.
I'm looking and I'm going, I guess going over here, your chiropractors will thank you for shifting position now. My name is Michael Hert. I live at 1808 Ohio Street. I've resided in Oshkosh since 1979. This is home. I love this place. I love Oshkosh. And what I want to do is talk about the elimination of Oshkosh Media and the ceasing of operations for the radio station and TV. Thomas Jefferson once stated, whenever things get so far wrong as to attract their attention and notice, the people may be relied upon to get it right. I believe that I'm probably the first local producer for Access, OCAT, OCM, OM. I'm about to age myself, but the very first show was Vital Signs, and it was with Mercy Medical Center on Hazel Street. And we had a pretty good little show there. And then eventually, things changed, and I kind of got into the realm of politics a little bit. Had a nice show there. We talked about, I had elected officials on, candidates, and we literally had from city, county, state, and federal officials on. I have a combined total of 31 years of military service, and with the Army between active duty, Guard, and Reserve. After the events of 9/11, life changed. And I ended up having multiple deployments, twice to Iraq, once to Afghanistan, and twice to the Horn of Africa. And I was medically retired in January 2015. I then became active in the veterans community. Together, myself and a fellow Afghanistan veteran, Adam Alexander, we co-host a show called The Outpost. And The Outpost, it's a veteran-orientated show, and we bring in local veterans, and I always like to, this is important to me, I like to start off each show, and I will have a veteran tell their story, because every veteran is a piece of U.S. history. And I like to be able to have them tell their story. And then we like to talk about maybe some of the events in the veterans community, issues, struggles that people are having, and so forth. Though, just case in point, like last show I did, I had a national service officer and a chapter service officer on. And they talked about how veterans can access the VA, their benefits, and so forth. We actually, DAV Chapter 17, we actually have an office in the Oshkosh Chamber of Commerce. Thursday afternoons, we have chapter service officers that staff it. And so it was a great opportunity to be able to say to those people, right here in Oshkosh, you got some folks you can talk to. Our next show, March 26th, that was to be on our women veterans, and to be able to talk with, we actually have a women's veterans committee that is very active. That was for March 26th, we were going to have it. Two things I want to share real quick. We had one gentleman on, and Green Beret, 2 tours in Vietnam, 3 Purple Hearts. And he talked about his experiences in Vietnam. That outpost was the first time he talked about his experiences. That show. We had one other show where we had Vietnam veterans, all Marines, all that, yeah, it was interesting, but they all had the same turf, same territory, and it was almost a cathartic experience with folks. And that's the magic that happens. That's the magic that occurs. So basically, in a nutshell, Thursday, March 5th, 3 o'clock, I got the email from Mr. Bailey, Communications and Engagement Manager, that GovTV and Life TV would be ending as of May 15th. Now, GovTV, I understand that's been changed and that's been saved. I gotta tell you, gang, I was shocked. I had never heard anything on this matter that this was going to end. I called Mr. Bailey the following day, March 6th, and asked, who is behind this? What was going on? And he said it was a decision of the leadership team, and it's reflected in the 2026 operational budget. When I think of the leadership team, that's you. Yet I don't know if I ever heard you speak on it. I don't know if it's been an agenda item. I could be wrong. Currently, the Oshkosh Patriotic Council, which actually is a council, is a committee of the chamber, or a committee of the council here, the 2026 Memorial Day procession, they're actually doing planning right now for it. And I asked, what's the game plan for the 2026 Memorial Day procession? The response was, I don't know. That doesn't inspire confidence, gang. And something I want you to think about. July 4th, the 250th birthday of our country. And you know, we put on a fabulous parade here in Oshkosh. And it's one of those that's viewed, it's huge. Is that going to be covered? I don't know. I don't know. In a nutshell, we got a wonderful quality of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hert. Carmen Scott, and then Mr. Dennis Strong. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Carmen Scott, 521 Otter. It takes a big person to say I'm sorry. So thank you very much for taking the heat, not just tonight, but many, many days since it's announced. You know I have a lot of respect for you. I wasn't going to come because I came out last night and I'm tired, but I did a version of this little talk that we're going to give, and people messaged me because I guess they know who I am. And they said, oh, you're going to go. They need to hear this. So this was written before some things have come to light. It will come across as snarky. I am the voice of the people who are not here. The people who are angry, but they don't show up. So they asked, and here we go. There's a song I hear running through my brain as I try and wrap my head around what's happening with Oshkosh media. Isn't it ironic that the new city manager who was hired on a platform of transparency has not even been remotely transparent when it comes to dismantling the headquarters of Oshkosh Media? And isn't it ironic that the producers who have used that studio, some for decades, and rallied volunteers to be part of supporting and communicating with Oshkosh through their shows, learned the news in an email? Well, not everyone got an email. And isn't it ironic that besides doing a poor job at being transparent, they also didn't even have an email list of every show producer, and some of them found out in the worst possible way? People are saying that the decision was done unilaterally by the current city manager of Oshkosh, Rebecca Grill. I don't know if that's true, but I do know it's a slap in the face to those who have been given significant hours of their lives to make Oshkosh a better place to live. Out of nowhere, with no public discussion or input, no public discussion by the Oshkosh Common Council, and certainly no vote by that governing body, the closure of Oshkosh Media is happening effective May 15th, 2026. The recording station and current Oshkosh Media TV studio will no longer function as a TV studio or creation space. This means the space volunteers have been using to produce their content will no longer be available, and the public access channel will no longer operate or accept content for air. According to our new communications director, Drew Bailey, none of this is happening because the programs or the product or the services being provided now are bad. They're amazing. They're great. This truly is because of a restructuring process, not because of budget cuts. That sounds good on paper, and had there been an opportunity to come together as a community and have a discussion and to learn more, I would still think it stinks, but I would have understood. Because they did not, people are rightfully angry, and the rumor mills, which are always an issue in Oshkosh, are running overtime. Isn't it ironic that the city of Oshkosh consistently begs for volunteers for a host of things, yet just dumps them when they decide to go in a different direction? I happen to be a big volunteer and believe that a city runs best when partnerships between paid and unpaid people. But guess what? Unpaid does not mean underappreciated, and that's what people are feeling right about now. So isn't it ironic that at a time when we need to be working together to shore up our image, and these shows have done that for many, many years, our city has gotten a big black eye because, I guess, transparency is just a word in the spelling bee. I understand that city council meetings will be available to view on YouTube, and the city says they will help people figure out how to get their shows on that platform. Of course, that's provided they actually have access to equipment to create content. How likely is that? You know what's not ironic? Because there was no transparency, it's simply one more reason that some people don't trust or like the people who run the city. That's not what you want. I don't have the longevity in this city as most of you. I have only been a guest. I've never produced my own show, but I hear people, and when I, who am not an elected official, not a producer, have nothing to do with this, I have very little skin in the game, when I'm getting emails saying, are you going to the meeting? Are you going to drive this? That's not something, that's really my job. That's your job. We want transparency, and you hear that word a lot. We want people to be kind to each other, and we want a better Oshkosh. Thank you.
Thank you. One final time, is anybody else here tonight that would like to speak to us under citizen statements? That would be non-agenda related items. I don't see anybody. Excellent. We'll consider that part closed. We do have a council member announcements and statements part that we got added. I think you were the one who were looking for it, so if you want to go first, you go right ahead.
Sure. I'll click it now. Yeah, I guess I did want to have council discuss the issue a little bit, right? I think it's, we need to have this discussion up here. It's a discussion that hasn't happened. I wasn't planning on going first. I was planning on a lot of people saying other things, but I'll start off with saying, I heard the word change a lot today, and I heard people talk about pride in Oshkosh, right? I think everybody that spoke up here has a lot of pride up in Oshkosh, and I really enjoy seeing that. And as I talk about change in government, I think I want to illustrate this point that when government changes, it does affect people, right? I know in the private sector, we often get compared to if a business or CEO or someone changes something, it really only affects a product or employees or something like that. They can make quick knee-jerk reactions. They can make changes very quickly. Government can't. Government, when we have a policy, when we put in a new road, when we cut funding to something, it has wide-reaching effects on everybody's lives. And because of that, we can't, change is good, but with government, it has to be intentful. I think here, for me, at City Hall, I like to try to see data. I like to try to see a plan. I like to try to see public input. I think all these things are necessary when we decide to have a large change. I really want to commend staff for saying this probably wasn't the best rollout, right? I think that was probably one of the biggest issues behind this. But again, for me, if we're going to make a large decision here, I want to see an intentful plan. I want to see some data behind it. I want to see that discussion. And I want us to have, if we are going to move in that direction, maybe that is the right direction, but I want to have those discussions. I want to have that input. I want to make sure that citizens, that myself, that staff all gets an opportunity to do that. So again, I was a little disappointed at how this came out. I know I kind of said I wanted to reserve my judgment until staff gave their input, and you guys are professionals. You're good at your jobs, right? I mean, we're all going to drop the ball sometime. I really would like to empower you to work with us, to work with citizens, to help right this ship, to help ensure we do have transparent, good communication. So again, I also am going to maybe put a little bit of onus on us. We do have this goal, and I'm going to talk about goals in a few minutes here. We have the goal of implementing a communications department. We have this goal of implementing better communication. We didn't meet the mark here, and I want to make sure that we do. And again, I think this discussion is good. I want to thank everybody for coming up here and expressing your pride in Oshkosh. We do sometimes have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, but we love our community very deeply, so thank you.
Mr. Flom, then Mr. Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to echo that. I think, well, first of all, I want to thank everybody who's involved themselves in Oshkosh media for many, many years. I also want to thank everybody coming here and speaking tonight and telling their story and their interactions with Oshkosh media and the positives that they've drawn from that. I've been a guest on Oshkosh Media. I have participated in a number of interviews. I've also used Oshkosh Media to watch not just government meetings, but to really get a grasp of what this community is all about. And for this, I'm also going to echo the point that, while I'm not opposed to change and I'm not opposed to seeing what we can do to be more efficient, I realize that does impact people. And in this case, I think the city did drop the ball here. We could have done a better job with this. A much better job. So I think what has been presented to us by Friends of OCM is not it's not unreasonable. I think it's good starting points to work with. I think also, council should have been a little bit more involved in the process. I think this is something that we should have discussed in open session, something that we should have engaged the public with. And so going forward, I would like to see a clear plan, a clear explanation with data behind it, and engaging all the relevant stakeholders here. I think that's something that we should be doing at a minimum when we're taking such a large decision like this. So I appreciate everybody for showing up here today. I think this is something that we can obviously improve on as a governing body, and I think we owe it to you guys to carry that out and to see to that. So thank you very much.
Mr. Nichols.
Thank you. And I'll echo what they said, too, about everyone coming to speak tonight. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate all the emails. I appreciate all the Facebook comments. Even when we may disagree with what if they're about this issue or something else, it's so important that the community does make itself heard in whichever way it can. With that said, I also want to talk about how proud I am of our city leadership here. So taking a step back, 2 years ago when I joined council, we go on tours of city departments, and we get to see actually how the city runs. We can do a ride along with a police officer, we can go walk through the water filtration plant, and we actually see the people that run the city every day, that do the hard work. And I remember I was talking to an Oshkosh employee at the wastewater treatment plant, which is where everything goes down the drain that you don't necessarily want to be there. And I remember we walked through it, and he was showing me exactly what he does every day. And I'll tell you, I'm not a science person. I went to law school because science and math are not my thing. And this guy is doing chemistry and biology every day. And I talked to him about what he did. And I said, how did you get to be this person? And I said, it's crazy that no one knows that we have people on staff that do this. And what he said to me was, well, if my name is in the newspaper, something is really wrong. And what we know is that there's always going to be mistakes, but as I'm looking around this room, I see Dean in the back, and we know that his police force is out every single day doing their job perfectly. I see James back there, and his people, he's in charge of the guy I talked about earlier. These people are out there working every single day. So first, thank God that the thing that we screwed up was communicating something that might be decided in the future. I want to thank the city manager. I'll tell you, we talk a lot about process and policy is our job. But the biggest job we have is hiring the city manager in our form of government. We did that with Rebecca Grill, and what her job is to hire her staff. She did that with Drew. And what we saw Drew to do today is say, wait a minute, I got a little ahead of my skis here. I announced something that hadn't been completely decided yet because I was in a meeting and I said something. And then we saw Rebecca come and say, you know what, I take responsibility for this. This wasn't the plan yet. And so I'm proud to sit up here as our council and say, you know what, we're going to have conversations about Oshkosh media. We're going to have conversations about wastewater treatment plant. We're going to talk about a bridge across 41, and there's going to be a spirited debate about all of it. But I will say that the process worked exactly how it's supposed to. There was a miscommunication, and there was accountability for it, and people spoke up about it. And now we're talking about it today. So I hope that while you might be upset and maybe feel a little bit hopeless because a decision came out in an email that was inappropriate and curt, I hope that you understand that the process is working exactly how it's supposed to, and your voice matters, and we're all listening. Thanks.
Mr. Belo.
I'm not going to reiterate what everybody else said, so I'm going to pick up kind of where everybody else left off. One of the things I want to call out, and Rebecca started with this, is that she could say that this is a city manager decision and we hire her to be the CEO, and that is true. This decision, while we didn't talk about it up here, one of the things that I've relayed to people is it is consistent with the budget, the goals, and the direction that we have given her. So this isn't a decision that was made out of pocket or with nothing ever being said about it. I know from my time that this was a large component of the $28 million remodel that Mark Roloff told us about that he recommended for the City Hall before he even left. And that was not palatable at that time, nor is that check that I want to write today, which is why that check has not been authorized. I know I was meeting with somebody who served on council before me, and they said they were having this discussions back in 2020 about the space and the staffing utilization of Oshkosh Media and how to better make that work. And obviously, since then, there's been a large pandemic and other things that have come through. So while I just wanted to say that first of all, that none of the thing that I heard tonight that disturbed me most is when one of the community members made it seem like people were saying that this is vanity projects. And that's terrible because I have never said that. I hope nobody in city staff has ever said it. But the things that I read over the weekend that hurt me the most is when people were posting that the city manager has gone rogue or the communication director has gone rogue. No. Just because I didn't know about a decision that was coming doesn't mean that it wasn't something that was consistent with what the direction we've given. Now, my feedback to both of them has been, well, I need to know the answers to the questions before the questions get asked, and they've both been like, yep, that's where we've gone wrong here, is that we didn't have everything figured out. And throughout this process, we're never going to have everything figured out. We're never going to have all the details buttoned up on where this could move to or how this could be done. but it should have been better than it was, and I think everybody has expressed that. Just like many people up here, the service that Oshkosh Media provides, I know, I think I've missed one city council meeting in my time, and I probably should have missed more with illness, but I've missed one, and it was when I was in Zambia, and I watched the city council meeting on internet when I could find Wi-Fi. And just being able to do that, that was my first question was, can people still be able to do this? And the answer was yes. And it was like, okay, well, is this piece going? Is that piece going? And that's where we should have had better answers in the beginning. I will also say that I will applaud staff for being willing to take big swings and miss, rather than being a city and a city government who just keeps doing the same thing every day for 40 years. You know, I joked maybe this one was a hot stove moment, you know, where it's like, oh, we touched something sensitive, and we obviously did. But I would rather be trying to move forward and improve things, and that's really what this is trying to find the best way for our staff. I've heard the plans for what our staff that have spent their time on Oshkosh Media right now, and it's good time, but what they can do otherwise with that time, and I'm excited for that as well. So all those things can be true at the same time. Did I ramble enough? Thank you.
Mr. Spanbar.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to echo a lot of what has been said. I want to thank everybody for coming to speak on the Oshkosh Media topic. I would agree with the folks who laid out some of the items that are listed here from the Friends of group. That I think, you know, what's here is very reasonable, and I'd like to see us work together to address those. I missed the meeting 2 weeks ago because I had the flu, and then I had to also watch the meeting afterwards because that's my job. So I was very thankful that we have, you know, the ability to do that. Right? I think at this point we can all agree, you know, this didn't go the way any of us wanted to. Let's work to fix it. I think we know that. And I've also, you know, talked with Rebecca and others about just making decisions that are data informed, right? I think we want to make data informed decisions. And so far, my experience, I'm coming up on a year of being on council, is that staff do that, right? Staff make data informed decisions. I think where the trip up was this time was that I don't know that all of us had all of that information. And so I think that's where everybody acknowledges maybe we need to be a little more clear about that kind of bi-directional information flow going forward. I also acknowledge that, you know, as a newer council member, I'm also still kind of learning the process. And I think it's something that a lot of citizens maybe aren't always as informed about as well, just sort of like where ideas originate, right? Where directions on things in the city originate. And so while I agree, you know, yeah, like that this is the way that the process is working, I also just want to acknowledge that the you know, the way that this is, the way that this process went, I just think could have happened differently. I think we all acknowledge that. I'm losing a little bit of my thought here, but yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it for now. Thanks.
Mr. Amos.
Well, first off, I want to, like everyone else, thank everyone that came out tonight and made their voices heard and expressed their concerns. What I have to say aligns with a lot of what many of you up here said, and I appreciate what I've heard tonight from you all and what I've heard up here. With everything that's currently happening in the country right now when it comes to free speech and people feeling as though their voices are being silenced, I definitely understand the frustration and concerns around this issue. However, I want to say that I do feel the residents of Oshkosh deserve to exercise their rights of free speech. They deserve more transparency when decisions like this are being made, and in addition to that, have their voices heard through the council up here. So each one of us up here represents a certain group of people in the community and the city, and I feel as though when we're not involved in the process, the residents of Oshkosh aren't being heard, and you all deserve that. And with that being said, I highly recommend that we find the best solution to the topic. I can confidently say that I don't think that we have the answer tonight, but I strongly encourage and recommend us as a city to look into what the appropriate solution is to the topic. However, I want to highlight that the staff and the council, I feel as though are listening to you all. What we've seen tonight represents that the process, like what we've mentioned up here many times tonight. Things happen. We're not always saying that those things are the right things. And you all come to the meeting, you voice your concerns, and we listen to you all, and we move forward based on the things that you guys bring to us, because essentially, we're up here representing you all, and you all are the ones who have the final say on how you all want your city and your communities to operate. So I think that we have expressed that we have shown a great amount of concern tonight. We have listened to you all, and I have full confidence that the staff and the council, we are going to find the right solution for you all that would accommodate everyone. So I just want to express that, and I look forward to what we're going to do in the future to accommodate everyone as a whole. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Councilmember. I'll go last.
That wasn't a surprise.
That's not a surprise, right? That's
I was gonna
generally
say
what
where
I
you
do.
belong, but
Thank you to everyone who has come here tonight, who's reached out in any of the different ways that you have. To council, your thoughtful statements as well tonight on this topic. I don't disagree with much of anything that's been said by anybody tonight. I don't think there's anybody that's just blatantly wrong, and valid points all around. So I will try not to repeat nearly any of it. I'm a process guy. I always have been here at City Council. I'm boring that way. I think the process matters. I think if we have good processes in place, the outcomes are generally going to be pretty good and be well received and be effective. One thing that Rebecca mentioned, or Ms. Grill, I try not to call first name, Ms. Grill mentioned during her statement, change is hard. And I think that's that is the one thing I want to repeat. Change is hard. Human nature really doesn't like, or humans don't like change, and yet it's inevitable. I think there are times when change is painful, and this may be one of those times. I've been up here about 8 years, and for every single one of those years, whether it was a written goal for the city manager, whether it was a stated goal or an implied goal to the city manager and to city staff, we have been clear across all councils that I've served with, find ways to tell our story better, period. And for many of those years, quite honestly, incremental at best is my assessment of how well we've done in finding better ways to tell our story. We got a whole bunch more Facebook pages. That's about what we got. And while I may or may not like the outcome of this one, personally, my personal beliefs don't matter in this, because we've given direction to tell our story better, and we've got staff who's trying to take a big whack at that. And again, it may be painful, but it may just be the pain that we need to set us on the right path for the next 10 to 20 plus years. Wildly unpopular, most likely, especially to those in this room, and I get that. I hope the willingness to just be direct and honest with you in terms of my thoughts at least clears up where I stand. Don't expect anybody to agree, but I think acknowledging that it can be hard and it is impactful to many, but it may just be what we need to do. We'll see how it goes and plays out over the next several weeks and months, and what the best path charted is, and we'll be a part of that in some fashion, and information will flow. That's my thoughts on that particular one. If there's nothing else on this, council, Let's move on to consent agenda.